So first and foremost, Battle Bred family certified. My friend, we appreciate your support. Tell the world who you are and what you do.
Yes, sir. My name is D. Williams, and I'm the owner of Abundantly Blessed Kennels, which now we've transitioned to Abundantly Blessed K9 and Supply, located in the upstate of South Carolina, where we breed American bullies, and we're transitioning to pit bulldogs, and now transitioning to a new breed of the Dogo Argentinos.
Nice. So, tell the listeners your story. Tell everybody like where it all started.
Well, where it kind of all started with me with the dogs is, kind of way back when, kind of in that urban setting. The first dog that I had ended up getting was my grandfather had brought a Rottweiler, by the house for me and my brother. And, I mean, it actually didn't even last long. We were young kids, and it just got to chasing us around the yard. And we didn't really know no better at the time, so we kind of just, scared at the time. And so they got rid of the Rottweiler. But then, I just kind of set out, I was going to get my own dog one day, and I wasn't going to worry about having to get rid of it or anything like that. So that kind of transitioned me on the hunt for dogs. And then, so, my dad, he was into the game dogs, heavy. So, they ran a lot of a Gator Hearst blood. It's kind of like, if you know about some of that Gator and Hearst blood, I mean, if you know, it's kind of one of those things. Mm-hmm. But, so I kind of got into the American Pit Bull Terrier, and that was kind of, just that chasing of that pit bull, that street bred pit bull, where they started breeding them even bigger and things like that, which ultimately transitioned to the American Bully. And that's kind of just what transitioned me in the chase of the dog. Just that American Pit Bull Terrier back then with the game dogs and everything. And, just really seeing those dogs get after it, and just no other dogs, like that. You see these other dogs, working dogs and things, but just the drive and just the loyalty of American Pit Bull Terrier, they kind of just got my eye and attention on the dog.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think we talked about it before. That transition, just right in the middle of that transition between the game dog and the bully, that was the golden era, I think. As far as ability meeting looks.
Yeah, and so even with the bullies then, like I said, that's kind of more of what I fell in love with, the more active, that pit bull on steroids, kind of when Dave Wilson was first, the idea of the bully first came about, keeping that active, functional dog. So, that's kind of, what really had jogged me. And then, so I got into once I really started getting into the bullies, it was kind of more of a thing okay, now I've actually figured out that these dogs that I'm chasing, these bigger pit bull terriers, because I know a lot of the, just the old school dog men, just that's not an American Pit Bull Terrier, and they really labeled, that difference. And I didn't want to, distort that either, because I don't want to, you can't mess up that old school blood of the American Pit Bull Terrier. Mm-hmm. And, I've always been one of those guys, that I'm true and honest or whatever. I'm not going to be one of those guys that paper hangs anything. The dog is what it is, mm-hmm. There's no need. And I've always been the one to, chase performance over anything. So, I never really, at first starting off, I wasn't one of the guys, chasing all the paperwork and things like that, just kind of getting out there, kind of just how those youngsters are, it's like, hey, I got this dog, it's good, So, I just kind of fell in love with that, and then really transitioning into, the American bullies, getting into it, hey, okay, let me really do this the right way. Let me get me some paper dogs and everything, So I went into the field of just getting some registered ABKC dogs. And I got my first two American bullies a few years ago, actually, which I had been breeding the American Pit Bull Terriers, doing the game dogs. Well, we used to run them on the homestead, letting them chase hogs and things like that. But so when I got into the bullies, I actually went and tried to jump on in and get some older ones, trying to rush into the game, kind of just hey, I didn't want to wait. If this is what I want to do, I'm going to go ahead and, get into it now and go from there. And it wasn't the best idea. Mm-hmm. It was not the best idea just jumping out there like that. I had couple, dealing with the health issues. Then it's this isn't the bully, that pit bull, that I'm used to. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of what's then, stirred me into a different direction now. Just seeing the overbreeding and the lack of care of the actual functionality of the dog. That's what really has turned me away from the American bully community. And then to the fact that, it's like when we're supposed to be a community as breeders, better in the breed, it's more, everybody's dog eat dog. I mean, it's what can I do? Like, instead of coming together, everybody's, against each other. My dog's better than yours. This dog,
Yeah.
it's just been a mess. So that's kind of where I stand with the American Bully community. And when, like I said, when you came up with the American Pit Bulldog over at BBF, it's like, it was a no-brainer. Like, I was, all the way on board with that.
It wasn't even really my idea to start with. I mean, the ADBA did it in 2015 first. They were calling it the Working Pit Bulldog. But
Right.
the only thing I didn't agree with is I said, well, if you really look at it from my perspective, you have the pit bull way on one side, the real pit bull terrier. Then way on the other side, you have this very different American bully. But those dogs that are somewhere in the middle, the working pit bulldog, yes, the Amstaff I include in the category, and then the UKC more thicker, more showy type pit, I throw in the same category. And then you still have some bully camps out there where they're more like bully pits or what some call, street pit bulls
Right.
or whatever. So I just said, screw it, and I lumped them all into one category because they're all being bred to each other anyway.
Right, yeah, and they've been doing it for years, and it's crazy, when it comes to the just as far as especially the paper hanging, and I feel like it's more prevalent even now in the bully community. Like back in the day with the older dog men, that was kind of more of a thing where they were hanging the papers, as far as getting those bloodlines really going, where it was less as far as technology and everything really being accounted for and tracked. But I mean, now when there's no excuse for it, and the paper hangings continuing, and I feel like almost at all-time high now, especially with the American bullies. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So you almost don't know what you're getting in that field. But at least, like I say, with the American Pit Bulldog and your registry, I do love the fact that you give that a name. You give it a label. Like, so it's like now you know what you're getting. Okay, let's give this a name.
Let me reiterate for the listeners before you start jumping into the comments. I'm not touching the American Pit Bull Terrier. If you look at the structure of the BBF, we register American Pit Bull Terriers, which are the traditional game-looking, smaller Pit Bull Terriers. A lot of the guys that even the old family red nose stuff, a lot of that stuff, we won't even consider a Pit Bull Terrier because it's too big. So just to reiterate for the audience, American Pit Bull Terrier, American Pit Bulldog, and American Bully, as long as it's functional, is what we'll register in the BBF as far as what people call pit bull types, quote unquote. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there before, you know how the comments can be.
Yeah, for sure. And I love that you did that too as well. Like one thing that I will say too is, one thing that I never get when people, oh, this dog is that dog. Like, always take the dog back to the standard, man. Like, that's the easiest way, that you're going to be like, okay, this is definitely, like, when you have a 100-pound dog talking about this is American Pit Bull Terrier, it's like, go to the breed standard. It's like,
yeah. It's like, I like what you said just now, going back to the standard. You and I both happen to be Christians.
Sure.
And it said, I've heard it said multiple times. It's like, no, don't compare yourself to other Christians. Compare yourself to Scripture.
Exactly.
And honestly, that kind of goes hand in hand with what you just said about dogs. Instead of comparing this one to that one to that one to that one, compare it to the standard of the dog.
For sure. And it's like,
that's golden.
That leaves out all the gray areas, all the room for this dog is this dog is that. It's like, and even when you get to breeding the dogs, even like, well, with the, like, just for instance, like with the Brazilian bulls that came in, it's like you can clearly go back and look at that dog, and then if people are labeling it as an American bully, you go back to the standard, even looking at the eye set and the separation of things, like the standard that doesn't line up with the standard. That's not an American Bully. So it's like clear lines like that that people are just overlooking or just disregard, and it waters down the lines of dogs and breeds and things like that. And that's why I totally agree, and I'll stand for it too. Like I say, and I'm glad you've made it known. Like I say, we're not taking anything away from the American Pit Bull Terrier with that too, because like I said, I want to leave that separately as long too. Like, I mean, it's an original, the OG breed. I mean, that's a classic breed. You can't touch that. So
Right.
I definitely agree, and I'm all for it.
That's the second time I've heard somebody say Brazilian bull. Break that down for me.
Okay, so the Brazilian bulls were over in Brazil. They started developing these dogs that were kind of like pretty much like the XL bully, And I mean, these dogs, I mean, they came out like the apex American bully, like how the American bully is supposed to be, functional, great rears, I mean, like they're not, as far as having all these breathing issues and health issues a lot of times. They're really great dogs, but what they did was, they crossed the bulldog into it, to get that bulkier, more functional build, to get that, that XL look. And it did wonders with it, and like if you've seen I know you've seen the dog going everywhere, chic all over social media and things like that.
Yeah,
like
I've seen a time or two, yeah.
But like if you look at the pictures of him and the eye separation that he has, even on his pictures, and even just the broadness of his skull and stuff. Like, I mean, yes, that American Bully has that broad head, but the skull, he has that bulldog skull. It's like, I mean, the eye separation, the skull, and then once you go back to that breed standard, like I was talking about earlier, like that Brazilian bull will not align with the American Bully. But now they've came to where they've, as far as ABKC, I believe they're recognizing the Brazilian bull as a whole separate breed under their registry as well now. So they definitely made that separation too as well, the same way you're doing with the American Pit Bull Terrier and the American Pit Bulldog.
Okay.
But yeah, they're like XL bullies crossed with bulldogs pretty much. But I mean, they're phenomenal dogs. Like, I mean, I do love them. They look good.
Like American bulldogs?
I would take them over XL bully any day.
Like American bulldogs or oldies, or what kind of bulldog?
Yeah. Well, yeah, they have to be like American, the older American bulldogs. And I don't know if it's a Scott or the Johnson, but it has to be. It has to be the bulkier line because, like, I mean, these are some like boned up dogs, So I mean, like, yeah, they definitely look good. Like I said, they are definitely, they raised the bar for the American Bully.
And what is their temperament like? Are they they got some heat to them?
Exactly like the American. It's just like the American Bully, just more functional.
Okay, I got you.
It's pretty much, and I mean, like, honestly, like, I mean, ultimately, like, I feel like the goal of, like, the American Pit Bulldog, with the ultimate goal of that, it'll be like a XL version of that. But they have just more of that bulldog look to them. Like just a more functional pit bull on steroids type of look. But they just have more of that bulldog in them. And it's like, I mean, but the thing I like about what they did with it is it wasn't like they were hiding it. They didn't hide it. They told you what they did and what they crossed to get that. It's not like they came over here like, oh no, these are American bullies. Like how people over in America are doing, and they're crossing them with these mastiffs and stuff. And then they're like, oh, this is just straight American Bully, and they'll hang that paperwork, Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, they're telling you up front, oh, this is a Brazilian Bully, this is a Brazilian Bull, like, and this is crossed with the American Bulldog. And now they're pumping those dogs left and right.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that was only the second time I've heard of them in years. So I was just curious.
Well, they're fairly new. Like I said, they're blowing up a lot. And even some of the, like I said, the Brazilian Bulls still got kind of crossover, kind of like how with the Pit Bulls and the Staffordshires, how kind of like some of them, the Staffordshires and Pits were registered as, the opposite and things like that early on, or even some of the bullies were still registered as American Pit Bulls and things like that. Like, it's kind of still some of that going on with the Brazilian Bulls. So they're allowed to be able, where I see a lot of people have like, oh, Brazilian blood too, with the American Bully. It's like, that's a Brazilian bull. It's not an American bully, but you label it as Brazilian blood. Like it's an American bully, but it's Brazilian blood American bully. Like, I mean, but it's just a lot with that bully community, and that's kind of just what turned me away,
Yeah. I think it was pretty much a wrap when furry bullies started popping up.
Yeah, the trends, man. The trends. I mean, it does. It does a horrible thing to, as far as like the structure and keeping lineage of dogs and things like that when they get trendy and things like that. I mean, it'll hurt a dog breed so bad. Like, it's ridiculous. Once they get popular and start mainstreaming and stuff like that, I mean, as far as the actual quality of dogs, they diminish so quickly once they become, as far as viral sensations and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember we were talking about this before, you and I, when I was watching on YouTube way back in the day, man, before, and I've said this a bunch on my channel, but before it was Dogumentary, it was, Bully Badass TV, and they used to have the bully barbecues out west, and man, I remember seeing, I don't care what the hell they called it. That was the, I guess today what we'd call in our club, an American Pit Bulldog, but these dogs were standing, they had to be at least 2 feet apart from each other,
Oh yeah, like getting into like that Remy line and stuff like that. Those older dogs.
Oh yeah.
Like are those the lines you talking about?
Oh yeah, that Remy was my favorite bully.
Yeah.
The only thing is, I would have kept him his exact width, but jacked him up a few inches.
Just a little bit taller.
Yeah. I think he would have been. I think he would have been a better dog.
Stand up a little taller too.
Yeah, I think he would have been a better functioning dog if he was a bit taller, and I think he would have had more man-stopping ability if he was taller.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree. And that's that had me thinking about like with the bully stuff like that too. That's kind of what with the transition of it, like how those bullies when it first started were way more functional than the ones now, and like with me loving a working dog, that's kind of what I fell in love with, just the drive of a dog, being able to see a dog, get out there and work, and especially when they're doing it just off the loyalty and just to please you, like it's something about seeing that. And it's like, so like I'm transitioning back to the working dogs, even seeing, kind of just even how people are going in just society today, and just seeing, I definitely believe the working dog is coming back. Like, I definitely believe the working dog is coming back around.
Oh yeah.
And like, I understand like the bully is a new breed, and coming into, okay, like the breed standard and everything, but I feel like you almost shouldn't even, like, when it's this many years in, how can you continue to change the breed standard? It's kind of puts you in an irritating state. So now it's like you've been pushing these dogs. It's like, hey, I have these standard dogs, or whatever. And it's like now all of a sudden they're pushing for these more extreme, bulkier dogs. And like now all of a sudden my standard dog is no longer a standard. Nobody wants these standard dogs, that I'm pushing, because now they're classics. Now I have to let all of this go and go try to find even bulkier dogs. And it's like, I understand you're trying to better it, but like at what point now, what do the classics that were classics before, what did they become? So because they're not going to be the same as the standards that you had in the class before. So now that you put those standards into the class with the original classics, what do you do with those older classics? Just call them pit bulls, or what do you mean, Staffordshires? Right. Like what, so it leaves that dry area. And it's like, I don't know. Yeah, it threw me for a loop when they kind of did that too, and it's just kind of, I don't know, it's a mess over there with all that stuff going on. And it's no disrespect or anything to ABKC. Like I said, I have no issue with them, with their registry and everything at all. But as far as, it's more with the community, as far as just the bully breed community as a whole. I'm not going to necessarily, hone in or talk down upon ABKC, because I have no issue with them at all, how they run their things. And ultimately, that's their decision. But the community over there has to do totally better as a whole if they want the American Bully to go anywhere further than what it is.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like, actually, now that you say it, I feel like that old standard of the classic that just kind of disappeared. I think that's probably the best explanation of what we could call the American Pit Bulldog right there.
It was right.
The one that
and
just
that's kind of the area where I was like, okay, some of those dogs that I did have into that, those ABKC registered dogs that were those classic, more functional bullies that I did like, and love that I had on hand myself. Those are kind of ones that I crossed over into, my pits and things that I had on hand. and just keep making those bigger original, pit bulls on steroids.
Yeah.
Putting them over there and registering with you, So that's definitely kind of what I kind of did and went with that route.
Yeah, dogs like Paddington and Throwing Knuckles and dogs.
Exactly.
Yeah, those Cairo, big row, not little row.
Yeah, for sure.
But so all right, let's talk about the store. We talked about it briefly last night, but let the people know exactly what you're trying to do.
Oh yeah, so for sure. So the Abundantly Blessed Canine and Supply. What we'll be doing is opening up an online store where we'll be selling starting off canine supplies, everything from collars, leashes, harnesses. Dog treats, dog toys. Different dog apparel and things like that. And even getting to where I'll open it up to where we'll do shipping. You'll be able to get as far as like I say, same day delivery and things like that. Locally in the area, we can actually do, like I say, delivery as well, like personally delivery to the straight to your front door and everything like that. And then also we plan on having a membership that we'll be posting. And like I said, all this we'll be posting it here shortly. We'll plan on opening it up right there at the top of 2026. So we'll do a membership too as well, where there'll be a monthly or annually fee where you'll be able to receive 10% or 15% off of every purchase that you have as well. So that's kind of the push with the store that I'm doing right now. And then we'll also be offering with Abundant Transport, Abundant Canine Transport. We'll also offer transport for as far as breeders to get puppies to homes and dogs transitioning to other kennels and things like that too as well.
Very nice. Okay. So that aside, what made you want to go the Dogo direction?
Well, so with the Dogo route, yeah. So what led me to the Dogo was kind of in my just search, just kind of getting away from the American Bully. And it's like, yeah, I always loved the American Pit Bull Terrier, but I still wanted to kind of, have that functional dog that still kind of had that docilness to it at times. And I needed a dog at times that can be around other dogs. And, some of the pit bulls, let's be honest, when you got these hot pit bulls, and I don't like to have just a cur dog just as far as an American Pit Bull Terrier, if that's not the breed standard. You see what I'm saying? So I was really trying to formulate the ultimate dog with the lines of dogs, with the working dogs that I've been doing that I registered with the American Pit Bull dog with you. And I just got to looking into other dog breeds, and it's like, okay, like the same thing that I'm trying to formulate in my line of dogs comes all in the Dogo. Everything that I'm looking for, from intelligence, from being able to take out hunt in the woods, from being able to use for protection work, being able to lay and cuddle with kids, if I wanted to use it for property guardianship, you know what I'm saying? Like anything that I needed in a dog, I found that in a Dogo. The only thing I seen that a Dogo Argentino lacked was just the variation in colors. Other than that, the Dogo is shaping out to be the ultimate dog right now to me. And it's nothing against the American Pit Bull Terrier, but think about it. Even with the American Pit Bulldog, we're shaping that Pit Bull on steroids. That Dogo is still that aggressive dog. It can be if that's what you're looking for. And it's still that functionally fit, not just floppy, massive dog. I almost shape it out to be a pit bull on steroids. So it's like what I've been looking for the whole time is all wrapped up in a purebred dog already.
Right.
So yeah, that's what shaped me and ultimately led me to the Dogo route.
I could see that. Yeah, they're pretty impressive. I just saw a video today somebody sent me. There was this guy walking a Dogo, and this other guy had his Corso off leash. They got into some big argument or something. And the guy holding the Dogo was basically like screaming at the dude that he should have his dog on a leash no matter how trained he is. I agree with that, honestly. I don't care. I don't care how trained your dog is. I think out in public, just for safety's sake, just for good measure, keep him on a leash. Unless you're deep in the woods where there's nobody around and you're just running with your dog, that's cool.
Right.
But like if these guys were like in a crowded area, it looked like it could have been a block party or a festival or something because it was really crowded for no damn reason. And And the dogo, the guy took the muzzle off the dogo, and he was just, basically like, if that dog does decide to do something, I'm not going to let my dog, get his ass kicked,
Right, right.
which I totally agree with. But that dogo was very impressive. In fact, he had that big blocky head. Hell, almost looked like a white XL bully,
Yeah,
just
some
just
of
way
them
more
do,
in shape.
and like
Just
I said, with me, ultimately, it's not necessarily the bulkiness of like looking like an XL bully that I'm chasing after, because ultimately, like I say, with work, I'm looking for the performance and functionality of the dog. The functionality, the health, the temperament as well. Like, can it function? And then with the dogos, like I love that they're bred to function in a pack. Like they're able to go and hunt in the woods with a pack of dogs. Out here sitting here, I mean, mauling, busting hog skin. You know what I'm saying? Mouth bloody, covered. And everything. And that same dog turn right back around, go back and be able to lay up with the kids. Like there's not many dogs that's able to have that on and off switch. And
right.
it's like even with the pit bull terrier, yeah, it's that ultimately that nanny dog. That dog that's still going to be good with the kids and things like that too as well. But you're not going to see too many American Pit Bull Terriers going out doing that type of workout in a pack. Having that team workout there for ultimate common goal.
And I would be worried. I would be worried the whole time that, especially if there's two males out there or two females, that one's gonna look at the other the wrong way, and it's just gonna go off.
Well, and see that's the thing. And see, even with the line, see, I've been looking into like looking more towards importing my dogs from a couple lines. And like I say, the lines that are bred over there in Argentina, like over there at La Cocha, they have great dogs over there with the dogos. I mean, and they've been breeding them well. Circle X out there, out there in Arkansas, he has great dogs out there. He actually, came from, those La Cocha lines and everything, where they're still hunting those dogs, how they originally were bred to do. They haven't, frayed away, just going over there to the, I just want a pretty dog to sit up and lay up with me. No, they're still keeping the working lines going,
Right.
and they don't make a difference between, oh, this is a working dog versus a show dog. Like they stand their toes on, as far as there should be no separation. This dog should be able to work and go in the show ring and win shows, because that's what the breed's supposed to do. It should ultimately look like what it's supposed to look like, so like, and they're still functioning. So that's kind of what I'm chasing, that functionality. But those dogs are bred, like even male to male. Like when they're working, they're working. You know what I'm saying? Like that's out the window.
Gotcha.
All of that's out the window, because that's what they're bred to do. Now, if you get one of these watered down lines out here that may be, a little more, away from the breed, how they were ultimately bred, and now you got a little more male on male, same sex, aggression or whatever. I mean, possibly.
You got American Pit Bulldogs, and you still have bullies?
Yeah, well, see, yeah, I do actually still have a couple bullies on hand, because, like I said, I've never been the person just to, hey, I'm getting rid of this dog, just because, like, me, ultimately, when I got into the breeding, I wasn't ever into it for the chase of the money. So it's like, just because this dog doesn't have necessarily the purpose right now currently in the field of me breeding American bullies, this is a good pet for me. So that he's always going to have a home at my kennel. So I do have a couple bullies still on hand. And not to say that I won't have any bully litters, and actually, secret out the bag now, I may actually be having another litter popping up here soon, the same litter that produced Big Benji. So, yeah. I had an accidental breeding slip up. I believe, yeah, I might have had a female take. And so I might be having an actual XL bully litter coming here soon. But I'm kind of steering, like I say, more away from the bully field. But I do have a couple on the yard still.
Gotcha, okay. In all your years of dogs, what are some of the hacks you've picked up, just along the way that some people don't know about?
Well, for like over as far as my years of dealing with the dogs, like a few things like that I use, that too many people don't use. One of the big ones that I use and stand by is garlic for sure. And I know it's a big controversy with garlic online and everything. You Google it, hey, it's garlic safe for dogs, things like that. It'll say no. But in moderate, amounts, and just like when you, as far as give a moderate amounts, it does wonders for the dog, you know. And like as far as we'll take like a garlic clove, you know, and just kind of bust it down, let it sit out for about 15 minutes or so. And I forget right now exactly the names of as far as the chemical properties in the garlic that it transitions with the air and everything. You know, when you bust that garlic clove open, where it makes it not toxic for the dogs and things. Mm-hmm. And it actually works as like a parasite cleanse, dewormer, and things like that, flea repellent, tick repellent. Mm-hmm. Like since I've been giving my dogs garlic on their food, and I also use DE, diatomaceous earth. Mm-hmm. I rub that down on their coats and things, and I'll sprinkle some on their food as well too. Like those are two things that I stand by as far as with deworming my dogs. I mean, on a natural basis, because both of those things are natural, you know, and I'm all about being natural with as much as possible, because at the end of the day, you know, I look back at, you know, in a survival situation, like how much would I be able to depend on pharmacia and for the pharmaceutical industry for my dogs, you know? So I've always honed in on the most natural products, and as far as like, how can I have a functional, healthy dog stand out of the vet office as much as possible? Mm-hmm. You know, so that's kind of one of the tips and tricks that I have learned over the way, as far as that I do use that I will, you know, kind of give it out to the listeners.
I think the only reason people want you to think it's toxic is so that they can push their medications. You know?
For sure, and that's what a lot of the things which like a lot of the vet industry stuff and all the pharmacia stuff and all of the industries like that, they kind of all work in cahoots with each other, you know. I mean, we know how that goes.
Yeah. I
mean, so it's like, of course, we're going to push this right here and say this is bad, so you can go get this product, and you get that product, then you need this product, you know. And it's an ongoing cycle, you know. But like, so like what they did kind of, well, the research that I found on that is with the garlic, when they were initially saying that it was toxic to dogs. I mean, those scientists, those researchers or whatever, I mean, they literally like gave the dog an excessive amount of garlic. You see what I'm saying? And it's like, if I give you an excessive amount of garlic, you're going to have reactions to that.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, I mean, you can't go by everything that you see, you know, on Google and everything. You really have to do your extensive research, really getting into the scientific properties of everything to really get an understanding, you know. And I'm a big person. I'm a big advocate on, you know, find it yourself, do the research yourself, you know. You just check and see for yourself. So it's like, that's one of the things that came about with that garlic stuff.
I've been really interested in getting more into the raw at some point, but from my understanding, the fact that most of a dog's DNA is still pretty much wolf. It's that one small percentage, and I don't want to, you know, butcher it and give the wrong information here, but it's like the smallest little percentage that actually even separates a Chihuahua from a Great Dane. So it's like, wouldn't you think that, you know, flesh, bone, blood, organ, all those things are probably still the best bet? One thing I've been doing as well is when I put their food in the bowl, their kibble, I'll fill it with water.
Yeah, I actually just did that with my dogs, hydrating their food. I do that as well.
Yeah, I just started doing it recently because I heard somebody online say it, and it was just like, damn, they're actually right. Like, why am I feeding my dog a bowl full of dry biscuits?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
and see, it helps with the digestion and everything of the dog when you rehydrate the food and things like that. So, and of course it helps with, just like I say, hydrating the dog as well, especially when you have those outside yard dogs and things like that. But yeah, that hydration of the food helps with a lot of things, especially with the digestion.
Yeah.
With the raw, yeah, I agree with that as well. Like, and I do, you know, incorporate, which I feed on a mostly basis of kibble right now, but I do implement raw, you know, supplementally. So like, I kind of use it supplementally. I do use a decent dog food. I try to use a natural dog food as well, where, you know, I don't have too many byproducts and things like that as well. And that's just one thing, because one of my dogs, Rilo, actually has a chicken allergy with the bully stuff, you know. So it's like that's one thing I didn't like with the bullies too. So I kind of had to start learning different things in different ways. Like, I wasn't used to being able to, you know, have a dog I can't even give a chicken, well, like a piece of chicken to or something like that. Or or give him, like, he even has issues, I guess, with digestion or something like that. Like just giving him like a beef bone or something. Like later on he'll be throwing up. Just flaws in the bullies and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
the raw is definitely, I believe, the ultimate way to go. But sometimes, as far as find a decent supplier has been my issue, a decent supplier for a fair price for the amount of dogs that I have.
Right.
So that's definitely why I just use it supplementally, just to give them that extra, And the dogs love when they get that, that leg quarter or whatever here and there. Something different.